Nancy Morris and Gary Morris, it's such a pleasure to talk with you because you really exemplify what the Caregiver Friendly Award is all about. People who just had an idea, had a need, couldn't find the product they were looking for, spent years tinkering and developing and sweating and toiling and marketing, and come up with something that's really kind of neat. So can you guys tell me a little bit about the backstory of how you produced Footbar?
Yes, we like to say, Gary, that love built the first walker. In 2013, we had some friends that were older than us. They were 88 and 86 at the time, George and Peggy White of Danville, Kentucky. And he was a World War II veteran, and they were just a delight to be around. Had been married, many years, just kind of mentors to us. But George became ill with Lewy body dementia. He had a severe essential tremor, and he also was going through a third hip replacement. And after Gary and I married and I moved away from Danville, Kentucky, we would go and visit and see them. But we had not been visiting in about 3 months, and when we went back, we could tell a change in Peggy more than we could tell a change in George. And we saw the toll that caregiving was taking on Peggy. So it touched our hearts. And Gary, being the innovative person that he is, and he had just retired from his job with TVA, and he said, I have an idea. I think I can come up with something that will assist Peggy to get him up. So we came back to Paris, Tennessee, which is our home, and he started working on his first prototype. So we did take the first prototype to George and Peggy, and it, as she says, it revolutionized her care of him. Absolutely took all of the stress off of her shoulders, her neck, and her back, where she had been lifting on him and straining herself.
What are caregivers telling you who've used the product?
Caregivers tell us that we gave them their life back, that it preserved their health. Just in general, it was the best thing that they had ever come across.
The Footbar seems to be a real back protector for family care.
Oh, it is. I mean, I guess you noticed when you put your foot on that Footbar and step back with your other foot, you just get in a power stance that gives you so much more leverage.
When the patient pulls on the top bar, the caregiver pulls against it. That gives an equalization. But the Footbar is so key to it because it stabilizes the base of the walker.
We have several cases that from 40-year-old people that have diseases like transverse myelitis, that it just gave them an ability to get up. We have people that have had hip replacements, amputated legs, strokes, Parkinson's disease, just wherever a caregiver is needed to assist the patient to stand. This is where we shine.
Now get back to the workshop and keep.
Okay.
I've got to get back to work.
He's got to get on his work clothes.
I tell people I'm nuts and bolts, mostly nuts.
Deborah Simmons, CEO, founder of Bossy Spa. We are so honored that you are a 2020 Caregiver Friendly Award winner for your program, Virtual Hugs for Caregivers, which I love the name of. And there's so many places online now to get information, support for caregivers, but not a lot of folks are doing what you do, which is offer emotional support for caregivers. Tell me about Bossy Spa.
So you've just described it beautifully. Bossy Spa is a very simple concept. It's a website that offers emotional sight for caregivers. That's all we do. And we post a new 4 or 5 paragraph article every Monday. If you're a subscriber, it comes to your mailbox, but you can go to the Bossy Spa anytime to look at any one of 700 or so posts we have, all aimed at emotional support for caregivers.
How did you get started with Bossy Spa?
So it's a funny name, right? And how I got started is my sister's husband was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and she was having such a hard time. When she'd come to visit, I would take care of her, and she had such caregiver burnout. She didn't want to make any decisions. And so we started referring to her visits as she was coming to the Bossy Spa, like it was a spa where people took care of you but bossed you around about, you know, what you were going to have for breakfast and when you were going to take your naps.
That's great.
And yeah, so and then her husband eventually got so that she couldn't travel anymore. And so we put the Bossy Spa online. So it was originally just my love for my sister and my care for her, and news of the Bossy Spa kind of went mouth to mouth from one caregiver to the next. And now I'm writing broadly for the community of all caregivers.
What does a caregiver find when they go to bossyspa.com?
So when you first go to the site, you'll see our logo. It's a cow pen daisy, and it has a little moth in it. And then you'll see a list of different articles that you can read. And all the photography is done by me, and most of it is from our ranch in Central Texas. So it has a very nature-oriented, rural feel to it. And when you click on the articles, you'll find something that talks about an issue that caregivers face and some thoughts about coping with that. And so the idea is there's a lot of practical problems that caregivers face, and there's many sites that offer practical advice, how to bathe the patient. But this is about how to cope with what's going on in your heart while you're caring for your loved one. When people first find the site, not infrequently, I get some sort of a communication from them, and they tell me two things. The first is they almost always tell me their story. Here's how I became a caregiver and what happened, and here's where I am on my journey. And I love that because it connects me to the hearts of caregivers, and that enriches the writing. The second thing I hear from caregivers is that when I came to your site, I was brokenhearted. And after I read, I felt comforted. And you just can't imagine what that means to me to hear. It feels like this little gift I have that I can put out in the universe makes a difference for people.
What do you want caregivers to take away from their experience being on bossyspa.com?
You're doing enough, and you are enough. And this is a long journey. And if you're going to pace yourself for the journey, you've got to take your heart of caring and compassion for your loved one and turn it on yourself.
Where would you like to see bossyspa.com in 5 years?
In 5 years, I'd like to have a print version. I'd like to have something that could be a gift book so that when someone newly became a caregiver, people who love them would have something physical that they could hand them and say, this is for you to comfort you on your journey.
I'd buy that book.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You and my mother, that's
Two clients, you're good.
2 clients, that's good.
Deborah, congratulations on your much-deserved 2020 Caregiver Friendly Award, and I look forward to great things from bossyspa.com. Wes Michael, tell me about Rare Patient Voice. How did you and why did you start the company?
A client came to me and said, they happen to be in the hemophilia category, very, very rare. And they said, do you have a panel? Can you build a panel of hemophilia patients and caregivers? And we said, I don't know, let's try. And we went to Hemophilia Foundation conferences, and we had our table and our sign-up sheets and our giveaways. But it worked. We developed a wonderful panel. People were interested in taking surveys and doing interviews. And somebody came up to me a couple of years later and said, I hear you have this wonderful panel in hemophilia patients and caregivers. Could we access it? And I said, well, no, it was proprietary to a client. But it got me thinking, I wonder if there's a need for that, because again, we kept seeing more and more people interested in patients and caregivers. Patients are eager to share what they're doing. The caregivers are eager to join in, and more companies are interested, especially companies in the rare disease space. So I gave it a shot, and right off the bat, there was a demand for it. And we just grew from there, going to patient events, like as you've seen us at, Gary, patient events where we'll set up our table, same concept, our table, our signs, our giveaway items, and a clipboard, right? And answer people's questions. And the most important thing about those events is to meet people. They see that we're real people We tell them why we're doing it. This is to express your opinions. It's confidential. Companies need to know what you're thinking and feeling about new product ideas or services or just your day-to-day problems that you're dealing with. And now we have 100,000 patients and caregivers. We've paid out $5.3 million to them for taking part in studies, and hopefully we've helped a lot of people.
Let's talk a little bit about how Rare Patient Voice helps the caregiver.
We're basically providing them an outlet of sharing their experiences, their thoughts, their feelings, either voicing it for the patient, but oftentimes voicing it as a counterpoint, if you will, to what the patient has to see. And that's important because these companies, you know, the big and small pharmaceutical and biotech companies, they have a million decisions to make when they launch products. What kind of a program, what kind of pricing, how they better make it with their input, with the caregiver's input, than without the input. So that's how it can really help. They get to have some input, say, this is my life, this is my big problem.
The most important question I have to ask you, why is a zebra your mascot?
Students in medical school are taught, if you are, metaphorically speaking, if you hear hoofbeats behind you, don't assume it's a zebra, assume it's a horse. Meaning, if you're diagnosing someone, start with the more obvious,
right,
and then work your way. But in the rare disease community, there are zebras. I mean, so often we hear from patients, it took them forever to diagnose me because nobody, oh, that's so rare. Well, somebody gets it's like somebody wins the lottery, right? Somebody gets these things. So it's become the symbol of the rare disease community. I think it's terrific. So you'll go to the Rare Disease Day at the NIH and things like that, and there'll be a lot of zebra themed items. So we thought that was a terrific thing. And we started dealing just with rare patients and caregivers. And in our name, it says that. But we actually do non-rare now as well, because people said, well, I have asthma, can I sign up? And we couldn't say no. And then clients said, do you happen to have asthma patients or diabetes?
Right.
So it worked out great. So what we wanted to keep the name. We put a little flag on it. We say also non-rare. So it's like, you non-rare people are okay too.
It's a pleasure to talk to Mary Lou Rochelle of Smart Caregiver, who's actually a two-time Caregiver Friendly Award winner. They won last year, and they won this year for a very interesting product. Mary Lou, how does Depart Alert help caregivers solve the challenges of wandering?
Okay, our Depart Alert is a great system that it is monitoring a door, and the patient wears a wristband transmitter, and when they get to the door and start to open it, it will sound at the door, and it will also send a signal to the caregiver so that they can go and redirect them away from the door so they don't have that elopement risk.
Is it easy to use?
It's very easy to use. It comes with one of the door monitors that you attach to the wall next to the door. It does come with screws as well as Velcro strips, so it's easy to attach to the wall. Then they just simply plug it into power. They put the wristband transmitter on the patient, and they put a little contact switch on the door, and they're ready to go. Most of the systems that are designed for homes right now are either a motion sensor or a contact switch on the door, which will alert anytime anybody is going through that door, which can be annoying when they only are really interested when a patient is going through the door. So that's the big difference between our system and theirs is it will only alert when that patient with the wristband on their wrist tries to open that door.
Can Depart Alert be used on multiple doors?
Yes, it can, and for the home, it's ideal because you can get two different doors. You have a front and a back door in most homes, so it's a great system for both.
How many people can you monitor with Depart Alert?
You can monitor multiples. The system comes with one of the wristband transmitters, and if they have more than one patient, they can buy as many additional transmitters as they need.
So it's simple, it's not intrusive. Your loved one dealing with cognitive issues, don't believe that your you know, you're overwhelming them, and they're not going to take off the wristband.
Right. They do come with extra wristbands, not the transmitter, but the wristbands, because sometimes people do want to tug on them and try to get them off. And if they do, then they can just put a new one on. We know these products are necessary for home caregivers. They have the same problems that facilities have. So we're happy to be able to bring this product to the home base. Every sale of our Depart Alert, we are donating a % to the Alzheimer's Association, because we firmly believe that there is a cure down the road and they need that money for research, and we're happy to help them with that.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Thank you, and everyone at Smart Caregiver for making such a product, making it viable for home use, and everything you do.